continue our work at Ukraine Crisis Media Center. I'm Valentin Pugachev, and I am a host of Spokesman of Peaceful Life Project, and we are speaking about humanitarian help for people affected by war, and we were speaking with diaspora, Ukraine and Europe during our last program with Irene Sfomburg. She is the president of 24-hour help humanitarian organization that provides Ukraine humanitarian help. Anna Lazareva also helps us from France, and she is a coordinator of France organization that is called Crossing Europe. And today we have a former player of Arsenal, Kyiv, and FIFA agent and founder of the Ivica Pirić. Good afternoon. And firstly, I would like to remind that last summer, Mr. Pirić founded the foundation for helping people affected by war, and we are going to speak about it today. So you are for the first time in our studio, so we would like to ask you about the help and what was the origin of this idea and what is actually your help, what do you provide. So good afternoon, everyone. I was in Ukraine from 2003. I played for Arsenal, Ukraine, then I became a FIFA agent, and the war started, and I took decision to help people. Why? Because Ukraine helped me a lot, and to my family also, and there were some military actions in my country, and I felt really badly about it, and all Croatian people. So we saw what is going on here, and we decided to organize humanitarian action, and we organized some assistance. We invited 300 children from Ukraine, those whose parents died or were injured in ATO. And this year was 150 children and 100 servicemen. And then there will be 150 children and 50 soldiers. And then we will help others. I will try to do more. And during last year, we had 600 children, and the ambassador of Ukraine helped, Mr. Levchenko. And this year, I hope that we will do not less than during the previous year. Can you tell us about the tour of last summer, about the selection? Who took part in it, and did you plan 300 people to travel? Honestly, I held a press conference on humanitarian action that all the Croatia should know about this events in Ukraine, and many people said they are ready to help, both from Ukraine and from Croatia. But when the time came to provide help, many people rejected the idea. And I said that we have to prepare 300 passports, and children are ready to travel, and we cannot reject them. So there were 300 children, and I wanted to bring 30 or 50 children at my own expense, but thank God we were able to bring more children. Children are really happy about it, and the main thing is that children from ATO area, from Lugansk and Donetsk, so after this humanitarian action, they said that they saw Europe and they want to live in Europe, and maybe this is the best weapon at present, because children is the future of Ukraine. And you said that someone didn't want to help. And what were the reasons for this? Why? And as I know, there were some problems in the organization of the tour. The customs. Could you elaborate on this? You know, it is unpleasant for me. I do not want to speak about it, but this action was successful, and we hope that this year this project won't stop. And about crossing the border, we traveled by bus with the group, and we couldn't understand why we should wait for 5 hours, and there was some sort of bad attitude towards us, and I couldn't understand that, why they have this attitude towards kids. But I think that we succeeded, and God sees everything. And going back to the trip of last year, could you tell us about the program and who was caring for these kids? There were some supervisors, some teachers, and this was a tour between Ukrainian and Croatian children. They had some tours on the coastline. They met with mayor, with the governor, and 300 passports, 300 children. They provided 291 passports. So before majority of these kids didn't travel abroad. So they had wonderful experience, and they returned home, and they liked these events and this experience. Are you in contact with those kids? Of course. Speaking about today, as I understand, in May also children will go to went to Croatia, and this was the joint action of yours and Maria Poroshenko project. Could you tell us in more detail about this tour? Yes, as I told you, in Croatia, 150 children and 100 soldiers stayed. These were first cyborgs, and my friend Spartanets gathered the guys. I mean, Anatoly, cyborg. He gathered the guys and he brought them to relax. And they played football with Croatian soldiers. They had a football match with our special forces servicemen, and they established cooperation. They spoke to each other, and the second group of soldiers were from Dnipropetrovsk. Everything was okay, and we thank Marina Poroshenko for her support of this project, and Ambassador Levchenko. They helped us a lot, and I think that we will cooperate with them in the future. So this tour lasts from starting from the 24th of May till 4th of June. Yes, and do you plan other trips like this year? This year there will be 150 children and 100 servicemen. This is already implemented. So we discussed the issues of housing and for their staying there. So there is a question from me, and then we will have questions from our colleagues. So after your footballer career is finished, you cooperate with the Ukrainian footballers, and you spend a lot of time in Croatia. It is interesting for us to understand about the attention of press in Croatia towards the problems of Ukraine. Do they have good media coverage about the events in the east of Ukraine? Of course, Croatia, we have a lot of information about it, and all the Croatians, they support Ukraine because this scenario that was realized here in Ukraine, we had it also in our country. Of course, Croatia can help a lot in rehabilitation of soldiers that were on this mission, and also about the punishment for those who are guilty. We have all this in our country many years ago, and that's why we want to help, that we should cooperate. Ukrainian government should cooperate with Croatian government, and Croatia understands Ukraine and everything that is going on. So they write a lot about it and support it. Thank you, Ivica. Do you have questions? I see. So please, Sergei Malerchuk, CMC, thank you very much for being with us today. Thank you very much for the work you do for children and for servicemen that suffered in the EU area. And from me personally, I thank you for your activities, and we hope that you will continue your work in future. And I have a question. You're a footballer, so do you have plans to continue your football career as a trainer of the junior footballer team? Thank you. As to my future as a trainer, I finished school, but I cannot carry out these activities. One should be calm. You shouldn't be nervous. I think that I should be an agent, not a trainer. Thank you. Do you have other questions? Ksenia Dvornikova, Fifth Channel. About future trip. So when is it going to be? When will these people go? So this 150 children and 100 of servicemen, where do they come from and where do they go? Whether it is seaside or some excursions, could you tell us more about it? Okay. So for the last year and for this year, children had program, and they had some excursions and split town. They also were at the coastline. They played in a football match. So these children and servicemen that will go this month, so in September, they will have their own program. And all those activities that were in the first group, so the same will be in the second group. So they will have the same program. And everyone from the previous group, they are all happy. They love to swim in the sea. So can you specify about September? What is the term of this trip? Are they going in small groups or all together? Children will stay in Amish town. This is the first group lived in this place. And soldiers will live in Makarsk, 20 kilometers from the city. So soldiers will stay 9 days and children for 12. Thank you. Do you have other questions? Please. Good afternoon, Kristina Chelmakina, CMC, as a representative of Croatia. Could you tell us about Croatian scenario that was in turbulent times in the Balkans? You know about the situation in Ukraine, you know about geopolitical risks. Because of the conflict in the East, what is your opinion? What is the scenario to Ukraine to solve the problems in the East? I mean, military armed, the problems of the armed conflict. So we should sit at the table and we should negotiate. The main idea is to stop military actions. People should not suffer. There shouldn't be any more losses. I believe that there should be peaceful reintegration of Donetsk and Lugansk. I hope that they will return to Ukraine, and maybe further negotiations will be on Crimea, and that happened in our country also. And of course, it's rather difficult to achieve, and as it happened with Crimea, so what happened in our country, so it's difficult to resolve, but I'm sure, and all the world believes, and Europe, that Donetsk and Lugansk and Crimea will return to Ukraine, and everything will be as it was before. Because otherwise it will not be correct. So we have next question. Bogdana Kostyuk, Radio Liberty. It is very pleasant to meet you in person. You friends with Spartanets, and you met other guys that we called cyborgs. And several films were shot about Ukrainian cyborgs, several books. Several books were written. There is the book The Airport about cyborgs. So do people in Croatia know about cyborgs? And secondly, your forecast for Euro 2016. Of course, Croatian media told the stories of Spartanets, Cyborg, and other guys. And we know about the book. This can be seen through the internet. So the most popular journals wrote about it. They took interviews, and Croatia feels Ukraine and supports it, and the same events were in our country, and we understand that people lost their loved ones, and we have people who lost their relatives also, and people understand and want to help, and they understand that these servicemen and soldiers should feel that Croatia accepts them with an open heart, and this is the main thing. As to Euro and the results of Ukraine, I believe that the main thing, they should go outside group, and this is difficult, and for Croatians it's also very difficult. But I believe that if we have morale, high spirit, and Ukraine has great footballers, and they will go into this group and enter the group, and that will depend on the game. So we hope that Croatians and Ukrainians will enter the group. Thank you. And I would like to remind that he is the representative of Chamber of Commerce. So I would like to ask about the forum. So could you tell us about the details about the forum? I'm the representative of the Chamber of Ukraine and Croatia, and the forum, economic forum, was held in Split, the town, and in Split, and the Mitinska region is the center of tourism, and this forum was at the top political level, and we were supported by the Prime Minister and the President of the Parliament and the Governor and the mayors of different cities. And Europarlamentarian Andriy Blinkovich went from European Parliament. He is a very famous person, and he supports Ukraine, and he conducts negotiations. And also he provided support to the forum and Chamber of Commerce, because this chamber is advertising Ukraine and promotes its interests in Europe, and
excellently supports the businessmen and allows them to resolve their issues and allow them to contact Croatian businessmen. The forum was very successful. Croatia is very happy about it, and those Croatian businessmen who have partners in Ukraine, who wish to work in Ukraine, now are thinking about specific projects, and I think that we will have SMEs, business partners, and big business partners. Since there are no further questions, just one comment. Today I've heard that in Zagreb, you have a monument to Taras Shevchenko, famous poet, and I think that we should thank you for this. Thank you for what you are doing. We will finish our press conference. Thank you.